So let me be the one that says, here's how to put on and to go share your faith. You with me? Very first thing that I want you to do is understand that you have a story. Oops, that's backwards. You have a story. And the story needs to be told. But the story needs to be told not just out of nowhere necessarily. You have a story to tell. We're going to get to this in a second. But listen closely. This story of sharing does not always happen instantaneously. Now, your story can be shared in an elevator, in a quick conversation, but it goes so much deeper than that. So step one in sharing your faith is simply this. Build intentional relationships. How do you share your faith? Build what relationships? Intentional relationships. Let's pause. Intentional relationships, your friends and family that you've known all along, that's not necessarily intentional, even though it can be intentional. But intentional relationships can be sort of like this. It's not just this, but just an idea. When we started Catalyst Church, I went to Steak and Shake, and it grieves me to my core that they're not open in Evansville anymore. But Steak and Shake, I went there every single lunch that I had an appointment with. Plus, they had 4 triple steak burgers for $4. It was great. So I went there, and I intentionally went when these 2 young people were working, were serving. I knew when they worked, and I intentionally went there. Why? So that I could ask for those servers and pour in conversations with them. So I could pray with them, encourage them, strengthen them, and ultimately tell them about Jesus. If you like coffee, maybe you are like my beautiful wife that spends $7,000 a year on coffee at Donut Bank. I should not have said that, but okay. But the intentionality, that the people every Sunday morning that she goes to know her almost by name. Intentionality. You know those friends that you just don't like at school or at work? What if you intentionally go and just say, hey, good morning. And they're like, oh, snap, they know I exist. And the next day is, hey, how was your weekend? Having those conversations with people that God directs you to. Intentional relationships. What's the intentionality? The intentionality is to one day, and I'm just letting you know it might not be the first day, but slowly but surely you're going to be able to build relationships with people to ultimately share your faith. So while you're building relationships, you go to number 2. You just pray. God, today I'm going to go into work. I'm going to go into school. I'm going to get online. I'm going to do whatever. And I'm going to intentionally pray that these relationships that I'm building gives me an opportunity to share Jesus with. And then as you're building a relationship, ask good questions. One of the worst questions you can ever ask, and this is a bad question. Have you ever heard there's never bad questions or bad answers, whatever? This is bad. How are you doing? Why ask that? Americans are going, I'm good. Right? How many of you ever have replied back, I'm good, I'm great, everything's good, and it's not? Raise your hand. Exactly. Stupid question. And by the way, I ask it a lot, so call me stupid. Okay, it's beside the point. But here's the deal. Ask good questions. Hey, you have a nice blouse on. Men don't do that to women, but women, just for example, you have a nice blouse on. Where did you get it? And they're like, oh, this radio thing? I got it at where? Ross. You all get everything at Ross. I got it at Ross. Oh, that's beautiful, beautiful. Maybe one day that you can show me where you shop, type of thing. So good questions. Or they're having a bad day. It's like, hey, there's just something going on, and don't ask, are you okay? Just go up to them and say, hey, it seems like you're having a rough day today. I just want to let you know that I'm here for you, praying for you. If there's anything, question, if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. Question. But just ask good questions. But then when you ask a good question, this is very difficult for me, those 2 words, shut up. What I mean by that is the following. It is so easy for us to make the conversation about us because we like us, And we know us, and we're not going to be offended by us. But just shut up. If you ask a question, listen. Because, ladies, you know guys. Here's a little tip about guys. Ladies, when you ever ask a guy a question, and you're talking to them and sharing your life with them, they're not paying attention. And that has led to major marital issues. What if, for that illustration, men, you actually listen to your spouse? Do you think that would bring you closer to them, that you would try to understand them more? The answer is absolutely yes. Right, ladies? Yeah. All right. Same thing applies. Ask good questions. Shut up and just listen. Don't make it about you. And look for opportunities for God to show up. And then take the 20 seconds of courage challenge. And this is simply it. You're asking good questions, you're asking good questions, you ask good questions, and you're praying. Then all of a sudden, there's this pounding in your heart, and the sirens are going off in your head, and they're like, tell them your story. Tell them about Jesus. You got 20 seconds. 20 seconds. Just like the fireman illustration. The siren goes off. You have 20 seconds to figure out what's going on, and either you're going to run away or run to a tough, seemingly conversation that God has set up. You're already protected. You're good. Relax. Take the 20 seconds and step into what God might be doing. 20 seconds. If you do that, it takes courage. But what do you share? Two things. You share your story, and then if you get an opportunity, you get to share whose story? God's story. And after you do this, if nothing happens, they might be like, that's good for you, but not for me. Repeat number 2. God, give me another opportunity.